Hey guys, Jordan here. Today I'm going to be responding to a question I got on a recent video. And that is this one right here from Eric Edner. Thank you, Eric, for your question. If you guys want me to answer your questions, make sure to leave them below on the videos. Don't necessarily have to be related to the video. It can be other real estate photography related questions, and I'll might just answer them like this. So anyways, the question is, and actually this was the video that I said Flambient or HDR in 2022. He said, how about Flash HDR, Flash with HDR? You cover exterior, interior. After that, you can process in Aurora HDR within max 30 minutes. You can see the perfection. Thank you, I agree. Time concerns with Flambient. Yeah. I mean, Flambient definitely does take a lot of time, and the quality increase, depending on the property, it may be worth it or not. But yeah, Flash HDR is another great option that I think is underutilized, and that is actually how we shot for years around here. You know, until we try to reduce as many variables as possible. So a lot of times now, depending on the property, we're not using any Flash. We just go HDR and just do a little bit more fine tuning during the editing process. But I think you can get a great result with Flash HDR. Now it can be tricky if you're doing brackets. I always recommend if you're shooting with a Flash, you do 0, -3. I think it goes, anyways, you start with your 0 exposure because that's the one you want it to flash at least. And depending on the recycle time of your Flash, it may not flash on the subsequent brackets, but you can get a great result on that. And I think we were shooting Flash HDR. I think we were doing JPEGs for a little while, and then we switched it to RAW. Actually, some of our photographers still shoot Flash HDR. It's how we taught all of ours, but. Yeah, you know, there is definitely a quality increase, but you definitely have to manage your Flash a bit. But one thing to note is that if you're shooting with a more advanced Flash that can do TTL, and it has all the pins on the Sony, at least with the Sony, it won't fire all 3 brackets, so it's kind of annoying unless you use one of these manual flashes, and in that case you really have to pay attention to your flash levels and your camera settings to make sure that it's not producing way too much flash or not enough. So it is definitely another variable to manage while you're out there shooting. But yeah, you can, you know, even with HDR Merge in Lightroom, I know you said you use, hold on, which one did you use? Aurora HDR, which I have. I just haven't been the biggest fan of the results that we get with Aurora HDR, and their batch options just aren't that great, but I just prefer Lightroom. But even with HDR Merge, actually, HDR Merge was producing not so good results when you use Flash exposure. If you're using Flash HDR and you want to use Lightroom, I would recommend using LR Infuse instead. It's like a third-party little plugin you can add to it, and that's what we used for a long time. But it doesn't produce a DNG file. You know, it can produce a TIFF or a JPEG. So you're going to be limited on what you can adjust your color temps and your tint if you go that route. But yeah, that's what I recommend if you're gonna go to Flash HDR. But yeah, I did forget to mention Flash HDR. I think it's still relevant. I think it's still a great option to produce better results than HDR. It do take a little bit more variable management when you're at a property, and then also on the editing side of things. So anyways, thanks so much, Eric, for your question. If you have more questions, leave them below. And if you're interested in learning more about the real estate photography business, you can check out my free workshop. The link is in the description below. That's going to do it for this one. Reach out if you have any questions. See you guys on the next one.